a few things to say about just the issue of filming. Have you ever been filmed yourself as teaching? Yes? Do you like, what was it like? I wish you could, since we're talking about el lenguaje corporal, I just wish you could have seen her face. She sort of went. I'm really compelled by films of teaching. In the first place, the film of Laura and all the others, I've watched them hundreds of times throughout the whole editing process and then working with teachers and things like that. What fascinates me about watching films of teaching is that unlike observing a class, you can watch it again and again and again and again and go back and watch. And you see different things each time. And one of the things, and this is why I was interested in what you had to say, which fascinates me, is if you get people to watch these films for different reasons. I gave you a general task, obviously, because we haven't met before and we don't have a chance to get into the real nitty-gritty. But if you get people to watch for different things, if people watch films and they choose what to look for, they see different things. And for example, if I had said to you, I want you to concentrate on the students only and on their responses, you might have had an entirely different response to what you saw than just general, what did you think of the teacher, the student, the lesson, and so on and so forth. That's the first thing. Second thing is that filming scares the pants off most teachers, and watching yourself later can be kind of stressful. My favorite reply was one teacher we filmed, who the moment she watched herself, she said, well, I'm never going to wear that blouse again. And you know exactly what, and other teachers respond to things that they never knew, like the way you use your arms and stuff like that, and the way you use your voice. And one of the teachers we filmed said he thought, before he saw the film, he thought he gave very clear instructions. And then, in other words, and many people respond very negatively to the sight of themselves on film. But I have a friend called Rod Belitho, a colleague called Rod Belitho, and he says that if somebody films you, what you have to do is watch the film 5 times without thinking very much. And by the time you've watched it 5 times, you will have got over the factor, and then you can watch it properly. And when I showed some films in Venezuela a few months ago, a school owner in the audience said what she did is that she goes into classes just with a digicam and she films teachers. So it's not nearly as professional as this. She just films teachers. And then what she does is she gives the film to the teacher, and that's it. Nothing else. No feedback, nothing else. She just gives the film to the teacher. If someone gave you a film of yourself teaching, would you watch it? Well, of course you would. Of course you would. And just the act of watching it is the most profound developmental experience you have, because most of the time what happens to us teachers is well, it's us and the students. The only audience we get are the students, and they're not necessarily a tremendously supportive audience some of the time. And you never... And when you stand in front of a class, as I'm standing in front of you now, I have an image of what I look like and who I am. And I think I'm putting that image over to you. But I don't know what you're seeing. I can't quite tell what you're seeing. Now, there's a bloody camera over there. If I watch that, I'll get a much better idea of who you're seeing than the idea I have in my head right now. So the beauty of watching yourself on film is it just gives you, for the first time ever, if you've never been filmed before, a student's eye view of what's going on. It's really, really useful. There's a woman called Rosie Tanner in Holland, and she uses filming teachers for... I was really moved by this. She presented this at the IATEFL conference in Exeter last year in Britain. And she's I don't know what her job is, she's a director of studies or head of department or something like that. And she doesn't go film teachers unless they ask her to. And the object of the exercise is, if you're having trouble in your class, you come to me and say, Jeremy, will you help me? And I'll say, okay, what do you want? And maybe the example she showed us was a teacher having problems with giving instructions and class control. So this teacher invited Rosie in, and Rosie again went with a digicamera, not a whole film crew, just a little digicamera. And she filmed this teacher. And then she gave the teacher the films and said, you choose which bit you want us to work with. So the teacher chose a bit that she wanted them to work with, and then they sat down to watch it together. And the real beauty and the thing that just blew my mind was that the conversation that they had was not led by Rosie, the boss. It was led by the teacher. The teacher ran the conversation. And the result of that is, almost without Rosie saying anything, the teacher said, oh yeah, well, maybe I could have. Do you think I could? Yeah, I could have. And the teacher almost did it all himself. The fact that Rosie was there as a mediator, a facilitator, a mentorish person, helped it to work. But it really, really worked. And I found that profoundly moving and profoundly interesting. That kind of using film as a developmental tool, because film really, really works in that sense.